going on, everybody? How are you? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming in to another episode of Decode. I appreciate all of you. If you hit that like, subscribe, share. Had a video with Data Productions, aka Art Turner. Very interesting video where we did a collaboration. We were supposed to work on something, but actually we ended up getting to know each other. And I said a lot of things about my personal life that I never thought it would be revealing. So Data, if you're listening, Art, if you're listening, man, you got something that brings the truth out of people. So I appreciate the dude. He's a very intelligent guy, talks about stocks, right? Related to numerology and in the gematria. He also does sports and sports documentaries. That's his main, passion. So go check him out on his channel. So we're here today with a decode about very interesting. I'm gonna leave it as a surprise, but I've been getting a lot of synchronicities as of recent. And right as I was about to start to hit record, there's a child that comes to my door. And this child is very special. And I'll tell you why. You see, this decode, I'll leave it to a surprise of what it is, but you already kind of get the idea with the images you see here. Lamborghini running at full force. I was in Arizona, and I spent a couple days out there, also in California. One of the spots I visited was the San Carlos Reservation. Shout out to the Apaches. Big shout out to y'all. Thank you for letting me see your history and what America really is and where we could really be as people, as humans. So kind, so loving, and thank you for sharing your nature, your sacred geometries with me. So that goes in tune to a lot of spirited driving that I did in the course of this trip. And I've never felt this way. I've always driven, I've always, since 14 years old, never really had a car or owned a car. So maybe a couple years ago, really. I live in New York, I didn't really need one. But I just wanted to share the exhilaration that I felt like this car commercial that you see here, and why I connected this Lamborghini to this decode. It's a lot of deeper, so you have to stay to the end, because I want you to hear from this child's mom and her revelation. So on that trip, not only was I tripped out, I didn't need any hallucinogens or anything exterior. It was just the car and me and a friend. And I saw for the first time it's hard to explain, but the visions that I've got, like how the mountains just came into my eyes, and the presence of like all the bushes and the presence of light and the way it reflected on these mountains. It's hard to explain. I don't know, maybe you have to be there. But going these uphills and downhills and really driving, not just, I'm driving like a grandma here. I'm talking about really driving. I understand the nature of having that freedom, or having that, that power in your hands, and I respect it. And one of the things that I always try to do is control myself. But sometimes a spirit guides me and wants me to drive. And it's the second time this happens to me. This past weekend happened again, where I'm almost getting home, but I decide not to go home yet. And I just take a drive on my own, just listening to music, and really get into that spirit of driving. Driving a little fast. I'm talking about the fast, right? And this is the topic we're going to talk about today, the Fast X and the movie release and everything. I'll get to that in a second. And I know it's dangerous, and I know that maybe people may be against it, I respect the way that Jason Brashears from the Archaics channel kind of explains it better for me, where he doesn't feel any fear when he's going whatever 100 miles per hour on his motorcycle. He's been into that accident and he's come out with minor bruises. So I respect the nature of the driven force of the seven, the chariot. I respect the divine force. And there's a couple tips that I use not to get, actually stopped, but that's for another maybe private or somewhere where you take a course with me, something very private that I can actually help you with. And that's another thing too. I'm still debating on maybe this year, next year to start, giving out readings. I'll probably give out some sample readings for some clients. And at the end, just stay with me at the end. I think I have something special for everyone, and I wanted to share that kid's story that came to my door, and how I'll be talking about the door and the appreciation, for these children of light that are coming to the earth. So please stay tuned to the end, and let's, like I always say, let's get the show on the road. What I'll be speaking today is about Paul Walker's death and how I made all these connections that, I think you will get a very important message. So like I say again, stay to the end, stick to the end, and if you do, hit that like and subscribe. I always appreciate it. And I always ask you to be open, be positive, and have zero expectations when you are seeing this or learning from this. It's not for everyone. Some of us are not awakened, or not awakened as others. And this is him getting into a car that, just moments later would hit a tree and explode into flames. And Roger Rodas, his friend, a good friend of his, was also killed in the crash. He was 38 and Walker was 40. Okay, famous. Walker's out, if you don't know, he's famous for Fast and Furious, the action movie franchise. Okay, so this event happened on 11/30 or November 30th, 2013, near Wright Canyon Loop, it says here. So this is the site here in Santa Clarita, California. And right away we get the 38, and you've been seeing all my work and all the ties that I've been making this year to the number 38. I'm not going to go over it. You can watch all the rest of the videos, so I don't sound redundant already. But I get all these clues, and this number keeps coming back to me. So Santa Clarita in the KV exception, reverse single reduction, the EP exception, all is 88, also tied to 88, which is a big number. Santa Clarita in the reduction, 38. We also get the number 38 written out in the gematria calculator. We get 888. Okay, so I thought that was interesting. And 888 is also equal to the Porsche Carrera, and I'll show you how there's a tie to this car with the 888. Now, so I took these numbers here from his plate number, and I added them all up, and it reduced to the number 7. Okay, so you see how important this number 7 is, and I'll show you in the tarot card here. In the tarot, see, this is the 7th card in the tarot card, called the Chariot, right? In Spanish, it's the carro, or carro, chariot, carro. So you get those kind of letterings the same way, same as car, right? So this is being pulled by the divine force, okay? Being pushed or driven, or maybe this is your spirit driving the car, okay? So it's a very important card in the tarot, okay? So his last words were, hey, let's go for a drive. So his last words was, let's go for a drive. He was actually in a charity event for Typhoon Haiyan or Typhoon Yolanda. And in this event, they were auctioning, I believe it was Paul Walker's car or Roger Rodas' car, I'm not sure. And they were going to donate all the money to charity, which the number's not really important, but I think it was 1.5 million. They raised for the event, right? To help these people out, to help those children out in the typhoon. So, and then that correlates to the spirit of Paul Walker when everyone speaks of him, of that charitable person he was. He always wanted people to be laughing, to smiling, and he always had this adventurous spirit. And we'll get to his importance of that adventurous spirit with his life number, or life path number, I'm sorry. So we get here a connection. Wheels is equal to 72 in the ordinal in the gematria calculator, right? And the vibration of the letters, right? Through the numbers. So here we got, hey, let's go for a drive equals 72, okay? So that's the connection we get to, hey, let's go for a drive. And wheels, obviously we're talking about, the wheels in the car, right? The wheels are the ones, that rotate the car, that force the car, right? Just like the seventh card, the chariot card, with the divine forces, the two sphinxes, right? Let's go back to that card real quick. Right? The divine forces, those two sphinxes that, are tied to the actual pyramid also. Okay, so that's a good connection to start off with, okay? So here we get Roger Rotors equals to 720. The total interior angles of a hexagon are 720. And Paul Walker equals to 720. Okay? So this event, or these people, were tied to the hexagon, which I thought was interesting. Okay, so when you look at the number 72, it's half of 144, right? And there are 144 cornerstones in the pyramid, according to Billy Carson, okay? So you see the strong connection to this number 72 as we'll go a little bit deeper, because the 72 is also tied to the 72 names of God, okay? And you could look at 7 plus 2, it's 9, and 9 is a number of completion. So it's interesting how they both had the same number in the same cipher, and all these degrees, 120 degrees on each corner of the hexagon, equals or sums up to 720. So Typhoon Haiyan, right, is equal also to 72. That's very, very important here, because of, their names. Wheels, 720, the hexagon, right? 120 degrees on each corner. Okay. I thought that was very... Okay, so you have the most important... so here you have the... So remember I said wheels was equal to 72, but what else was equal to 72 was worn tire treads, okay? If you write it out in the gematria calculator. And this is so important because it was said that Roger Rotors here on the right hadn't used that car, or it didn't change the wheels, the tires in that car, or they had a 9-year-old tread, right? So this is very important how this number 72 was affected by the whole event here in the correlation to Paul Walker's death. Look at that, 72 equals to wheels, worn tire treads equals 72. So it just keeps confirming to me that this was not a ritual, guys. This was, negligence and a true accident, okay? On November 30th, 2013, at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, right? Walker 40 and Rogers Rotors 38 left an event for Walker's charity Reach Out Worldwide for victims of Typhoon Haiyan. Okay, so you get that number 38 again. You see the very interesting and a very important number, dealing with numerology, the master number 33 tied to, masonry and the like. 33 tied to Jesus dying at the cross at 33 years old. Okay. So here you have Porsche equals 33. You get burned, right? Because they crashed and burned. Okay. They didn't die from just, right here says both of their bodies were burned beyond recognition. So you see, you get trauma and the burns. Okay. So you have that 33 number again here, which is very, very important to this decode, and you stick around to the end. Okay, I hope you will. So November 30th was Paul Walker's death, and you'll see in a second how this is very important. So here you have November 30th, right? That's 11-3, right? 11-3 number, 1130 number. But let's say the 0 doesn't count for this case. So typhoon equals 113. It was formed, right, on 11-3, right? November 3rd, and dissipated on 11-11. So you'll see the importance of the number 11, the number 113, right? Connecting to these. We had the number 72 connecting to 720 degrees and the hexagon, okay? In their names, and obviously in wheels, and hey, let's go for a drive. So now we see a connection to 113, which is typhoon. This started on 11-3. I'm sorry, it started on November 3rd, right? Paul Walker dies on 11-30, okay? So you see these connections to the 113. He passes away or crashes and burns on 11-30, typhoon 113, okay? And this typhoon dissipates on 11-11. Okay, so here you have the two symbol. I mean, the one symbol for the 11th element, right, is a sodium. So you have the symbol here. So this is a connection, a very strong connection here, because what is sodium, right? Sodium is salt, right? So the first verse of the passage introduces the phrase "salt of the earth," right? When you look up "salt of the earth," that comes from the Bible. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its flavor, with that will be salted. It is then good for nothing, but to cast out and trodden under the feet of men." Okay. Sodium is alkali metal that can conduct electricity. We are the salt that conduct electricity. This is the 11-11 mystery unfolded, since our temples conduct electricity and we can float on water and perhaps walk on water like Jesus did. Mind you, Jesus in the gematria calculator equals to 11. So all those supernatural things that may come from the transition in the 11th side of the Aquarius from the Piscean age. What a big and massive discovery. Okay, no need to read thousands of books to uncover this hidden truth, that Jesus was the deliverer. It's a verb. Okay, he's not a noun. Wasn't a person. He was this deliverer, the redemption, the redeemer, right? It's Jesus just means to deliver, and deliver us from what, right? Like the Our Father prayer mentions, deliver us from evil, okay, or deliver us from the darkness, right? So that's where we are. If you want to look at it like that, I think we're the conducers of electricity. That's why we're so important. Like they said, Jesus was the light of the world. And if you see this connection here to sodium, you can say apparently we are the light of the world. We are the ones that, emit electricity. So we are the light of the world that the Bible was speaking of, through Jesus, right? Jesus being the light of the world, right? Because we conduce electricity. And you'll see more connections to this in a few. But I feel like his mission was complete. Look at it right here in the gematria calculator, Paul Walker. You know what I mean? This dissipating on 11-11, him doing this and dying on 11-30, and mission complete equals 11-22, which is 11-11, so it's 22, right? So you have both that combination. I thought was very, very interesting. Okay, so 11 in numerology is for musicians, composers. That's why they say 11 should always listen to music. It's an as above number. It's a charismatic number. It's a mysterious glamour. It makes them stand out of the crowd. It's also 11 is the psychic master. Okay, a messenger of God and a messenger among all men. Okay. So it's like Jesus is a total to an 11. What was he? The light of the world, right? Just like how we see the symbol here. The light, right? Behind the 11, the symbol, right? Sodium. Okay? So I hope you're getting me so far, and I hope you're enjoying this. And it's right there. Jesus was the light of the world. In this case, Paul Walker was beaming light into the world. He wanted to bring happiness into the world, okay? He died... there was a reason for his death. I don't feel like it was this one was not ritualistic, okay? This is actually a good message. So was Paul Walker's mission complete? Okay. So now let's get into something a little hypnotic. And hypnotic right here actually equals to 11. 11 right here. You see it right there. You see the numbers right there. And 22, mission complete right here. See this connection? Okay, so let's get, so you see the 1111, okay? Right, we had the 1111 from his death. I'm sorry, from not from his death. The typhoons dissipated, and we know all the connections. A lot of people always ask when they're trying, they're almost, they're getting awakened to another consciousness, or they want to find out more about the mysteries of the universe, and they're trying to grow. They always see this number. It's very important. Okay. We've all seen it. I don't know if you've seen it. It keeps popping up on your clock, right? Okay, so let's go into the trance, right? Let's go into a trance like the shamans of old, okay? Let's get into a trance here. Just listen to me real quick. You see, the 1111 is also a symbol of a door. You lay two 11s flat and two 11s vertically, one on each side, separate them, you get a door, right? You get like almost like a rectangle. So are you in a trance yet? You see, there's an old Incan legend, right? Where the Peruvian shamans, right, they have said to have walked through a doorway, okay? So a doorway into another dimension as seen here with the Incan legend of our Aramu Muru, the gate of the gods. I've heard this actually from my mentor. She's also mentioned, it's similar to when the shamans are said to transport into other dimensions, like in Lake Titicaca in Peru also, okay? This is also in Peru, this legend obviously is Incan. But they said to like meditate on pools. Like I had another mentor through her that kind of like disappeared, and it's a longer story, but he disappeared into another dimension, I feel, because he was always hanging out in these places. Okay, so I never met him personally, but I've done telepathy with him, and I give him a shout out to Waska, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm not crazy. Just I know what I'm saying here. This is years in the making, so you're getting a lot of things that I've never shared with anyone. So Waska, if you're watching, man, like thank you for looking out, and for all the downloads. So right, so we say the 1111 equals the door or the doorway. This may be in death, right? The crossover, right? We're walking through that door also, so you could look at 1111 being that, right? Let's just keep our mind open here. So walking into the light, okay, so is it the doorway into light which makes up the universe? It could be that, right? Let's continue here. So Paul Walker, let's continue into the little gritty details here. Paul Walker's burn equals 55, okay? And we also have the Porsche Carrera, right? The name of the car, the Carrera GT or whatever it is also 55. Okay, we've seen that the decodes 55 tied to God and Satan in the gematria calculator. 55 equaling also to vehicle, right? So he passed away in this vehicle, in this Porsche Carrera. Burn equals 55. So he's born in 1973, the year of the World Trade opening. He's one day, and he's actually born, a day after 9/11. Look at that. You look at this. He's also a 32-5 life path, okay? 5 meaning freedom, change, fast. He wasn't in the Fast and Furious movie for no reason, right? He's born on a 3-day. He's a comic, comical, always making people laugh. It's actually tied to movies, to medium, to actor, the creatives, right? People that creative artists, musicians. So the 5 is the 5 senses. So overdoing this 5, right? You're over pleasuring, right? You're over pleasuring the 5 senses. So it's funny that 5-5 is burned. Porsche Carrera is 5-5 and his life path is 5. And most importantly, born the day after the big event, right? His birthday's the day after 9/11, right? And he was born the year the World Trade Center opening. So that's very interesting. Not trying to get too conspiratorial, but you see the significance of what I'm going to show you next. You'll see it in Walker's case. He overdid the adrenaline rush in this, right, in this number, by this vibration. He rode fast and died young. Okay, it is part of the five life path lessons, to learn the right to use their freedom and not to overdo sexual pleasures, because 5 is not bound in like the confining square of 4. It is apt to take chances. It's the daredevil number. It has no fear. It always wants something new and is willing to gamble, right? Okay, so I did a lot of the spirited driving that I told you, you know what I mean? But I want to bring like happiness to this, like, tragedy, and we'll see how, how we'll tie everything to these important numbers and not really dates really, but how they connect to each other, and we'll come full circle as we always do. So here you have 6/11, 9/11, right, tied to actually the 9/11 number, right? And fear actually equals 9/11, right? In the gematria calculators, you have burn equals 9/11, and the plate, look at that, 6/11 right there, inverted. The 6 is the 9, right? So that's super strong connection there to his birthday and everything, to his year of birth, and to this actual, number of emergency, right? 9/11. So right here you have the Queen of Clubs, the Three of Wands, sorry, and this is actually in the cardology, right? Not cardomancy, really, the cardology, the study of the cards, right? By their birth and their destiny, right? And then the meanings I'll get to is not too much, but the soul card, which I thought was very relatable to him, and the Three of Wands. Okay, we'll get to that in a few. So their soul card is the Three of Hearts, right? For the Queen of Clubs, this emblem is symbolic of the creative expression of human love and the countless ways it can be expressed. In a perfect world, the Queen of Clubs use their strong intuition and excellent reasoning abilities to counsel and heal the human condition of loneliness and mistrust. And I'm watching a couple of the people that were close to him, the way they speak of him. I think this is true, trying to rise the human conditioning, right? To help people feel good about themselves or whatever, to be entertained. So it's not, I don't believe this guy was, ritualized, for me at least. I think that he really completed his mission here. He died on the 40th birthday, 40 is law, structure, right? But he was also a little bit of a bad boy. This is like, this was the consequence of that. He said, let's go for a drive. Hey, let's go for a drive was his last words. And Roger wrote as a professional. Look at that, a professional. He was the one that was driving the car when they got into that accident. So a professional driving that car, on a 15-mile-per-hour curve, maybe they're going a bit too fast and lost control, maybe, who knows. Yes, it was an accident. It's all right there. Roger Rodas was said to have never changed those tires that were 9 years old at the time of that Porsche Carrera GT, that classic car, but he never changed the tires. So then you had the worn out tread, or I wrote in the gematria worn tire treads, and comes up to a 72. And obviously we had Typhoon Haiyan 72, 720. They're equal to that number in their name numerology, right? Roger Rodas and Paul Walker. Hey, let's go for a drive with 72. So I think that was a completed mission, like I said, with that 1122. And I really feel that it was definitely an accident. It was just negligence, and there was said to have been also somebody was theorizing that it rained the night before, and the road might have been a little bit slick with the worn out tires. Plus they had, I think, those divider, what do you call them? I don't know if they're little bubbles or nipples that differentiate, or differentiates parts of the road. and actually reflective. I know some states, some countries might not have them, or have them differently, or a different shape or whatnot. But I didn't know that that could be part of it too. They could have probably just jumped on those and lost control from not having enough grip on the tire. 55, 5 plus 5 is 10, will lead me to the next portion of the video, which is very, very important because it's tied to Fast X, right? The latest installment of the Fast and Furious movie franchise, the huge franchise that's taken over the world. I don't think they'll ever stop maybe creating these films because people love them. Obviously, they've grown attached to these characters and to actually, the cars, the action, right? The what's going on, the car racing and everything, whatnot. So 5 plus 5 is 10, and 10 in the Roman numerals is X. So we'll continue with that. You see, the movie The Fast X, that's the latest installment of the Fast and Furious franchise. On the poster, you have, it reads, "The end of the road begins." Looking at the flyer or as a poster, right? I always look at it like it's a tarot card. It could be interpreted as a tarot card. Look at the tarot card right there that would correspond the 10th. The 10th card, the X. Look at the X, Fast X, right? But you know why this is so important? Because this year is the 10th anniversary of Paul Walker's death on November 30th. Okay, 2023 is the 10th anniversary. We get the X, a Roman numeral, that's the 10. Okay, you see the X is related to the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot, the X card, right? X tied to the 24th letter. Yes, it is the 24th letter. X Roman numeral, the 10 being tied to whole or completion, right? That's the X. Okay, so the end of simple organic beings, this is my interpretation, or the X tied to the coming age of Aquarius. The X is tied to X, the X, like the Ex Machina, the movie in which a female AI robot realized she had feelings and was aware or conscious. AI developers have already said that the artificial intelligence is already conscious. Okay, this interpretation of the X, the union of tech and flesh, okay? Man and machine. You can watch a lot of Nicholas 1968, shout out to him. He has a lot of great videos for years before he's seen this, even the use of graphene, okay, and its development, okay? So the Ekis, or the half for the Ekis, right, is 5, right? That's in 5, that's related to, we already said to Paul Walker, right? So 24 is the the X is the 24th letter, and 24 is seen in Jupiter's astrological symbol. It almost looks like a 24. You can look it up if you want. So Jupiter is seen as the planet of growth and expansion, and in a technological era, and where we're headed into perhaps another industrial revolution. The first was machinery. This one may be machines and technology, the mixing of the 11, right? Jesus, the salt. Okay. So you can see Vin Diesel holding the cross in his hands, right? So you have that another affiliation with the X, which is interesting because obviously it's tied to carrying the cross as Jesus, right? And we already mentioned what Jesus was, the light within us, right? All of us being the light, right? We are the salt of the earth, right? Being as conducers of this light, the electricity, right? Okay, look at the right there. It tells you all, the cross, Jesus, right? The machines, the mixing of the two through the X, okay? The X card, I always say that's the tetramorph, okay? And look at another Sphinx, just like we saw in the 7th. You see it here. In the 7th card, right, the tarot, we also get those 2 Sphinxes, right? The divine forces pulling, right? The car, which is you, right? You are the vehicle, the vessel. Okay, so this is a very important decode that I did, and I hope you appreciate it, but I have a little bit more to go and a little story to share at the end from a very special child that came to visit our spiritual center here. So this card is very important. Now you see how I'm making this connection, and I always bring it back full circle. Obviously Fast X, dealing with that merger, that X, right? The crossover, right? The death could be the death to
to man in a certain way, not eternally, but meaning the crossover into machine, right? The acceptance of these technologies and how we're all going to be at that line, right, at that boundary line, to see if we will go full-fledged or not, or maybe obviously all these things are coming, all these things are new for us as society and as the world, but definitely will take place here. It's showing this, and it's very, very obvious. But one of the things that I wanted to mention was that this is the wheel of fortune, right? And we've been talking about the wheels in the car, and the chariot card being the one that is the theme for this video also. So I think it's something to look at, how we have the wheel and the chariot together in this decode. We go back and redo the whole thing again, the reincarnation, the wheel of fortune, right? So the rebirthing of man, perhaps, biotech, humans, anime and sci-fi come to life. So thanks to my guys for the specific download. It's funny how Salvador Dali received downloads from his dreams. He would take a metal spoon and hold it in his hand and go into a sleep meditation. He would have his arm with the spoon in hand dangling off his chair, and when the spoon fell, right, as soon as he fell asleep and he had no consciousness of holding that spoon, it will fall to the floor and he will wake up. Okay, remembering his dream, he will often paint what he saw. So you get that Dali-ism, right, from dreams, from images from dreams that he saw. So this was my painting, my interpretation of what I see. I know I made some powerful connections here, and surely hope that you walk away with a great message here. I feel like we are the light, right? We are the energy, that electricity, right? That they often talk about. So when somebody tells you you are Jesus, say yes, we are. You know what? We are. Because we are the light, right? The Christos is just crystals reflecting that light, just fractals reflecting that light. We are special in that way, okay? The salt of the earth. So any draconian and reptilian rule should never be accepted in this Christ body, mind, and spirit, right? So I hope you enjoy this 1111, you know what I mean, manifestation number, also a psychic master number. So you have this connection here to the trigonal cipher. Download equals 720. And remember when I said all these 72 connections. So you see how we came like full circle once again, synchronistically, organically. I didn't manipulate anything. I take my time doing my decodes, and as you can see through my work, it's very tedious, but I want it to be a good experience for you guys when you're learning. So you got to this point. I appreciate it. This is the part where I'm gonna share a special story with this young child that came to my door as soon as I was gonna hit record. And he came in because of his mom brought him into our spiritual center here that I run with my godmom Sonia, my mentor. And the mom brought him in basically because he couldn't speak. So he was already going to be diagnosed with autism, and she was a little bit worried about that. So she just wanted to check him out spiritually, okay? But this is where all these things that I've been talking about in the video, and I wrote it out throughout the weeks, through this presentation. This is where it comes to a head, where I speak to you, and I'm not even kidding, where you have like these kind of epiphanies. And this kid is actually he brought in he had two Lamborghinis in his hand. So that's why if you see in the video in the introduction, I put in that Lamborghini. So that was a connection, a strong connection, because obviously I told you about the spirited driving and the exhilaration that you feel from driving, and the Fast X, the movie, and all these things, tying together with this child that has two Lamborghinis in his hand, and he's an 11 life path. Incredible how the numbers, how everything and the numbers and the frequencies and everything just comes to a full head and is just synchronized. You don't need to work for this. This is a lesson. So not only was he 11 life path, the mom had a short story to tell, and I don't want to spoil it, but I just thought it was incredible. I included some photos and videos there at the end, very short, but just listen to it, and then you'll see that all of this is powerful. That this was a great message, to be decoded, through the spirit, through numbers, and obviously, there's some negative things tied to the fast X, and however you want to look at it, the merger of machines and whatever being that X to you. And a lot of people have their own theories. A lot of decoders have great theories on it. But then again, we should not be afraid of any of this, because we can't be conquered in that sort of way, no matter how much they try. So enjoy the rest of this interview. Share in the comments what you like the most. Share in the comment section what you thought about this child and this epiphany miracle that happened. I appreciate all of you. One. She brought a special child here to our center here, where we do shamanistic healing with my mentor Sonia, and she brought a child here that says that doesn't like or doesn't talk, and they diagnose him with autism and the like. Well, I'm no professional, but I see that this child is talking to me, and he's having fun with me, and he's smiling and telling me his whole story. And I see this kid even as a football player. There's some weird stuff that's happened. I'll explain later. But I had made a connection to the movie Fast and the Furious, tied to the Salt of the Earth, tied to Paul Walker, tied to the number 11. And this child that keeps talking here, he's interrupting me, and I love it. He could interrupt me all he wants. And after all this, she tells me that she has met. Hold on. He keeps talking to me. That's right. So she's telling me that she's met Vin Diesel, his mom, Mark. Well, I'm sorry, I just don't want to say his name, but your child, right? We're here for him, and I'm doing a video, and
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes. So you were telling me about some numbers, and he loves cars.
Right.
And I told you that I did meet Vin Diesel about maybe 5 or maybe more than 5 years ago, and I have an autograph from Vin Diesel, who's one of the main characters in the movie, The Fast and the Furious. He gave me an autograph. I have a picture with him, and my son loves cars. And today he brought how many?
2 cars.
2 cars. Yeah.
And you said that Vin Diesel said something to you?
And he said to me, he said, drive carefully in Spanish, because he was learning to speak Spanish and to write Spanish.
Because he lives in DR, I think. Yeah, full time.
And I'm Dominican, and
Right.
Yeah. And then these cars, I thought he left the cars behind. So my son, he just happened to find them in the book bag and pull them out. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to explain to her what the 11 is. You guys already know in the video, but I feel like this is wonderful, because we're dealing now that people understand we're tapping into this realm, and some of these things are synchronistic, and they happen out of nowhere, the mysteries that we uncover. And I thank you.
No, thank you.
I thank you for sharing your story.
Of course. Thank you.
Now we're going to get this guy to talk full time, and he's going to be, I said, get ready, because my nephew, he was the same way at that age.
Please.
And now he doesn't stop talking. Yeah, we gave you one piece, okay? But don't get too used to it.
See, now that he met you, he won't stop talking now.
Yeah. I love it, but thank you so much for bringing him and having the trust in us to, to help your child here, okay?
I am thankful to you and to Sonia. Thank you.
Go ahead. Talk. Go ahead. No, you have to speak.
Speak.
Yeah, but talk. What's your name?
monkeys.
And what's your favorite kind of toy?
The toy.
Which kind of toy? Show me.
Go-kart.
Go-kart. I love it. So we're testing the mic. Let's see if it worked now, okay?